Imagine finding out the person who terrorized you for years, who haunted your every step, is now married to your best friend. How do you process that betrayal? How do you even begin to comprehend a love story born from obsession? This is the unbelievable true story of how my best friend married my stalker. I was halfway through my morning coffee when the group text came in. Guess who's getting married? Tessa, of course. Always the loudest voice in the room, even in group chats. The photo loaded slowly, like fate was buffering. Tessa, glowing in some overexposed selfie, her curly hair in a wild halo, holding up a left hand with a diamond on it. Next to her, smiling like a man who knew how to perform joy, was him, Daniel. I dropped my mug. It didn't shatter, it just thunked against the kitchen tile and splashed lukewarm coffee onto my slippers. My hands were still frozen around the phone. It was him, Daniel Reef, the man who stalked me for 2.5 years, the man who made me change apartments, cancel plans, and sleep with my bedroom light on. And now he was grinning next to my best friend, holding her like he owned her future. I stared at the screen for what felt like 10 full minutes. My brain couldn't, or wouldn't, catch up. I zoomed in, zoomed out. My thumb hovered over his face like maybe I could erase him if I pressed hard enough. Tessa's caption said, "Can't believe I found my forever person in the most unexpected way. Can't wait for you all to meet him." My heart flipped. My breath came short. I started shaking. He used to say that to me. "You'll love me once you really get to know me. I'm your forever." I sat down on the floor, phone clutched in one hand, trying to remember how to breathe. I hadn't seen or heard from him in almost 5 years. I thought he'd finally gotten bored, moved on, found some other woman to obsess over. Turns out, he had. I scrolled up in the group thread. Everyone was gushing, heart emojis, champagne gifts, so happy for you messages. And there I was, paralyzed. It couldn't be him, could it? I opened my notes app, searched Daniel. There it was, the obsessive catalog I kept during that awful time. Screenshots, voice memos, logs of where I'd seen him, photos of the notes he used to leave under my windshield wiper. One read, "You looked beautiful in the red scarf today. You didn't see me, but I saw you." I burned that scarf. I opened his old emails. The email address matched. The writing style. It was him. Same weird punctuation, same creepy poetry, same fixation with "meant to be." I scrolled through the screenshots like I was studying crime scene photos. Every inch of my stomach was ice. I grabbed my laptop and found Tessa's Instagram. There he was again. Same face, clean-shaven now, less gaunt, but the eyes were still too intense. He looked normal, polished, the kind of guy you'd let dog sit. My fingers hovered over her contact. I couldn't call. I couldn't even text. What the hell do you say? "Hey, congrats on the engagement. Fun twist. He used to follow me home from work and whisper my name outside my apartment window." I stood up, pacing, panicking, grieving even. I knew I had to say something, but the words felt radioactive. Part of me wanted to believe it wasn't him, that this was some cosmic coincidence. But I knew better. I wasn't born yesterday. And the sickest part? I think he knew I'd see it, knew the photo would get back to me. Because Daniel Reeve didn't want to disappear. He wanted to win. And what better trophy than the one person I trusted the most in the world? I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. My phone buzzed again. "Rach? Aren't you going to say anything?" I nearly threw up. It started with flowers. A small bouquet of peonies, my favorite, on the doorstep of my apartment in Selwood. No note, no card. I assumed they were from someone at work, maybe a neighbor. I even smiled. That's how it begins. Not with fear, but flattery. Then came the second bouquet, then the third. Then a voicemail. He didn't say his name, just breathed into the phone like he was collecting the sound of my silence. Then, softly, "You looked sad today." That's when I stopped smiling. I told myself I was overreacting, that it was a prank, that the mail mix-up the week before, my bills torn open, my name scribbled over in red ink, had nothing to do with this. Coincidences. But I started looking over my shoulder. I stopped wearing skirts to the grocery store, switched to hoodies, tied my hair back. I parked closer to the building, changed up my route home, stopped going to the gym. Not that it mattered. He found me anyway. One night, I came home late after working on a freelance deadline and noticed something scratched into the side of my car. "Smile more." That was the night I called the police. The officer who came out couldn't have been more than 24. He took a few photos, nodded like he cared, and handed me a pamphlet titled "Protecting Yourself in Public Spaces." I asked him if they could check local security cameras. He shrugged. "We'll see what we can do." They didn't. After that, the messages escalated. Sometimes I'd find notes inside my mailbox. Once he slid one under my door. "We're so close now." I stopped sleeping. When I did sleep, I dreamed of running. I moved to a new place in Northeast, near Alberta Street. Didn't give the address to anyone except Tessa, my parents, and my boss. I deleted Facebook, made my Instagram private, bought blackout curtains. Still, he found me. I remember the exact moment I realized how deep this went. I was walking home from a late dinner with Tessa, laughing about something. God, I can't even remember what. And I felt it. That prickling behind your ears, like you're being watched. A shadow darted behind the trash bins in the alley next to my building. It was quick. Could have been a raccoon, could have been a guy, could have been him. I didn't stay long enough to check. I started carrying pepper spray, slept with a baseball bat next to my bed like I was waiting for a home invasion. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and just sit in my living room with all the lights on, heart pounding, waiting for something to break. Tessa told me I was being paranoid. She said maybe I needed to get grounded again, meditate, stop letting fear win. She meant well, I think, but she didn't live it. She didn't know what it's like to hear your name whispered through your voicemail at 2:11 a.m. over and over again, like a chant. Eventually, I tried to get a restraining order. I walked into the courthouse in a stiff blazer, clutching a folder of printed emails and screenshots, and told the clerk my story. She gave me a form. The judge told me there wasn't enough evidence, no physical violence, no confirmed identity, no direct threats. He told me to stay safe and sent me home. After that, I gave up. There's only so much screaming you can do into the void before your voice cracks and you start to believe no one's listening. But then, he vanished. It wasn't dramatic. No police report, no arrest, just silence. No texts, no notes, no flowers. For weeks, then months, a full year. I don't know what I expected. Maybe that he'd gotten bored. Maybe he'd found someone else. I felt guilty for hoping that, for wishing that whatever darkness lived in him had just moved on. I started breathing again, rejoined Instagram under a new name, took a short trip to Big Sur, bought a plant. I still checked over my shoulder, of course. I still flinched when a blocked number called, but the silence was comforting, like a wound scabbing over. I never questioned it too hard. I should have. Because while I was finally starting to feel safe, while I was piecing my life back together, he was just changing tactics. And this time, he wasn't after me. He was after my best friend. I picked Bar Alder because it was public, loud enough to muffle screaming, but not so loud that you couldn't hear heartbreak. I sat in the back booth, the one near the fake fireplace, clutching an untouched glass of Pinot like it was a lifeline. Tessa showed up 10 minutes late, as usual. floaty sundress, oversized sunglasses, all sunshine and oblivion. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing was wrong, like I hadn't been white-knuckling this secret for days. "God, I've missed you," she said, sliding into the booth. "You've been so MIA lately. Are you okay? You look pale." I took a breath. My hands were shaking under the table. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. But mostly, I wanted my friend back, the one who used to know me without words. "I need to talk to you about Daniel." Her face lit up like a sparkler. "Isn't he amazing? I mean, I know it's fast, but when you know, right?" "No. No, you don't. Tess, you know Dan used to stalk me, right?" The smile flickered. She blinked, confused. "Wait, what? Daniel? My Daniel?" I nodded, throat tight. "Yeah, your Daniel. Daniel Reeve. That's the man who terrorized me for over 2 years." She laughed. This disbelieving little hiccup of sound, like I just told her aliens lived in my attic. No, there must be some mistake. Daniel told me you two used to date, like, casually, that it ended weirdly, and you ghosted him. I stared at her, stunned. I never dated him. I never touched him. I didn't even know his last name until I reported him to the police. Tessa's smile cracked. "Wait, what? You reported him?" "Multiple times. Flowers, voicemails, messages. He followed me home. He keyed my car. I have records, Tess. Screenshots, timestamps, emails. He whispered my name outside my apartment door in the middle of the night." She blinked, shook her head slowly, like trying to shake the idea out of her brain. No, that doesn't sound like him at all. He's kind, thoughtful. He volunteers at the Humane Society." I wanted to scream. Instead, I pulled out my phone and showed her the messages, the notes, the photos of my car, the emails with timestamps that aligned with the years we were roommates. Evidence. She scrolled, her face tightened, but she didn't hand the phone back right away. "He said you had a breakdown back then, that you made a lot of things up, that you were going through something." I felt like I'd been punched. I had a breakdown because I was being stalked. I stopped sleeping. I moved twice. I lost friends. I lost you. And now you're marrying him? Tessa finally met my eyes. "Honestly," she said, pushing my phone back across the table, "this sounds like jealousy. You've been alone for a long time, and maybe seeing me happy is, I don't know, hard for you." It took every ounce of strength I had not to flip the table, not to cry, not to reach across the booth and shake her. "You think I'm making this up because I'm jealous? You said it yourself. You never got closure. Maybe this is your way of getting some." I laughed. It was bitter, broken. "Closure. Tessa, I don't need closure. I needed safety. I needed someone to believe me. I needed you. And instead, you're calling me paranoid because it's inconvenient for your wedding hashtag." She stood up then, slowly, like we were in a movie and this was her cue to exit with grace. "I think you should go, Rachel. I don't want this negativity around my engagement." Negativity. That's what my trauma was to her now? An aesthetic problem. I watched her walk out of the bar without looking back. 10 years of friendship. Gone. Evaporated into the Portland rain. And all I could think as I sat alone in that booth, staring at my untouched wine was, he won. Daniel Reeve won. I didn't sleep the night after the bar. I lay on the couch with the TV on mute, watching the shadows crawl across the ceiling, my mind running every conversation with Tessa through a brutal replay loop. She hadn't just doubted me, she'd chosen him. She called me jealous. I started wondering if maybe I was crazy. Maybe I had exaggerated things. Maybe the voice messages weren't that bad. Maybe the flowers were just awkward. Maybe the keying was a coincidence. Gaslighting yourself is easy when the alternative is believing you've lost your best friend to the man who used to haunt your dreams. By morning, I had two options: disappear into silence again or fight back. But how do you warn people about a man who wears soft blue button-downs and carries rescue puppies in his Instagram stories? I opened my laptop and pulled up everything. The photos, the emails, the police reports that went nowhere. I stared at the cursor blinking in a blank Facebook post. My hands hovered. If I went public, what would happen? Would people think I was bitter? That I was trying to ruin her wedding? That I was making it up? I deleted the draft. Instead, I texted 3 close friends, people who had seen me during those years, who remembered the late-night panic calls. I asked them plainly, "Do you remember what I went through with Daniel Reeve?" 2 of them responded within minutes. "Yes, I remember, of course. That guy scared the hell out of you." One even offered to write something down in case I ever needed proof. But the third, she hesitated, said something like, "I thought maybe you were exaggerating back then. You seemed fragile." Fragile? Like it was a character flaw? Like fear made me unreliable? I started therapy again that week. The new therapist didn't flinch when I laid it all out. She listened. She asked questions. She said, "Of course you're angry. You never got justice. You got silence." She helped me name the rage, not just at Daniel, at the system, at the people who told me to let it go, at the women who smiled and said, "That's so romantic," when I told them a man wouldn't stop messaging me. I kept scrolling Tessa's page. I told myself not to, but I did. Honeymoon in Tulum. All-inclusive resort. Couples massage, matching robes. In one photo, she's lying in a hammock, glowing in the sunset, drink in hand. And there he is behind the camera. I could feel it. You can always tell when the subject is smiling at someone they love. Then came the one that knocked the air out of my lungs. It was Daniel, holding a margarita, shirt unbuttoned just enough to look casual, sunglasses in his hand, looking straight into the camera. But his eyes were locked on something far away, or maybe someone. I stared at the image so long my screen dimmed. It was the same look he used to give me from across the street, that flat, unreadable stare, that quiet confidence, that smirk like he knew something you didn't know. He looked like a man who'd won a game no one else knew was being played. I didn't comment, didn't like, didn't message. But I didn't forget. I kept my proof. I wrote down everything I could remember. I backed up the files to a drive labeled "just in case." Because maybe someday someone will need it. Maybe Tessa will need it. Maybe someone else. For now, though, I just keep breathing. Sometimes healing isn't a victory. Sometimes it's just staying upright in the middle of the storm. I bought a journal at a tiny bookstore in Portland before I left town. Leather-bound, overpriced. The kind of thing you buy when you're trying to believe in beginnings again. I packed it at the bottom of a box labeled "Stuff I Actually Care About," sandwiched between a scarf from my mom and my favorite coffee mug. Santa Fe wasn't part of the plan. It was a desperate pivot. I didn't want to be anywhere that smelled like wet leaves and regret. I didn't want to bump into people who still followed Tessa or ask myself every time I passed a coffee shop, did they believe me? So I moved. Just like that. No dramatic goodbye. No Facebook post. I sold half my furniture, broke my lease, and drove 1,400 miles with a Spotify playlist labeled Start Over, Bitch. The first entry in the journal was 2 sentences. I am not crazy. I am not bitter. I am a witness. That line saved me. I wrote it again and again, some days like a mantra, others like a middle finger to the world. In Santa Fe, I got a job at a co-op that didn't care about resumes, started freelancing again, rented a tiny adobe casita with a lime tree in the backyard. I kept writing. Not for likes, not for comments, not for closure. For me. For the version of me that used to whisper, "Don't be dramatic," every time her gut screamed danger. I started thinking about red flags. How quiet they can be. How easily we tuck them away under compliments and second chances. Daniel wasn't a monster. That's the most terrifying part. He was thoughtful, soft-spoken. He remembered birthdays. He helped elderly neighbors bring in their groceries. Predators rarely foam at the mouth. They wear cardigans. They hold eye contact just long enough to make you doubt yourself. And they're very good at twisting the story so they come out looking like the wounded party. I thought about how many women I know have stories like mine. How many times we've told ourselves, he didn't mean it like that. Or, maybe I overreacted. Or the all-time classic, I don't want to make a scene. We'd rather carry the weight of confusion than be labeled dramatic. We'd rather be wronged than rude. Tessa wasn't evil. She was naive. She wanted love to be simple, romantic, pure. She didn't want her love story rewritten as a cautionary tale. I stopped being angry at her around month 3. I stopped being angry at myself around month 6. Around month 8, I went hiking alone for the first time in years. No pepper spray, no frantic checking over my shoulder, no pretending I was on a call just in case someone got too close. I hiked through red clay trails under an absurdly blue sky, and halfway up, I stopped and laughed. Just laughed. Loud. From the chest. Like someone had flipped a switch inside me I forgot was even wired to joy. No reason, no punchline, just relief. I felt free. Not healed. Healing. Which is messier, slower, but more honest. I still have bad days. Sometimes I'll hear a voicemail chime and my stomach flips. Sometimes I wake up from a dream with my fists clenched. But now, I write it down. I don't bury it. I don't dismiss it. I give it a name. Because the moment you start naming things, fear, grief, betrayal, you take away some of their power. The last entry in my journal last week said this: I didn't win. I survived. And sometimes that's more than enough. I don't know where Tessa is now. I stopped checking. Daniel still exists, somewhere. he's someone's husband. Maybe one day someone else's father. I can't protect the whole world, but I can protect me. And for the first time in a long, long while, I want to. If this story hit close to home, subscribe to Open Secret Stories. We share real stories every day about betrayal, healing, and the strength to start over. Leave a like if this one resonated with you, and don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss the next truth spoken out loud.